He is joining his home. So remember, Nadel is a member of the Congress movement. Can you just reflect that the Secretary General of the ANC has joined in? Please, Comrade Mkabela, please, can you lead us just to welcome the Secretary? To welcome the Secretary. Amandla. Viva African National Congress, viva. Viva Natal, viva. Viva COSATU, viva. We are pleased, Secretary General, that you now joined this conference of Natal. We are aware, we have been made aware about your very tight program, particularly that tomorrow you won't be even here and that you have to squeeze yourself to show how much you respect and actually you respect this organization, you value this organization. Nadel is part of the Congress movement. It was actually formed at the instructions of Oliver Tambo. As part of our founding document, you will read the Constitution of Nadel. Nadel has actually adopted Freedom Charter as a guiding document. But we always emphasize, Secretary General, that Nadel is an organization of lawyers. It's not we are not politicians. We are inspired by the policies founding the African National Congress that has been our ally over the years, that has actually prepared this organization. So, Nyana Katatu Telihlas, no mama, unomanizu. Siabulela kufika kwakho. I will not take much time. I will hand over to you to address the members of Nadel. Within us, there are justices of the High Court, Eastern Cape, the division, the Gauteng division. We have members of parliament, we have chiefs, we have everyone present to show the importance of the gathering. Thank you. I'll hand over this to you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I've opened a different speech. I thought I had the right speech. Now I have something here that I don't understand in terms of what I'm opening here. Thank you very much, Program Director, for the invitation that we have received. President of Nadel, Mr. Nokiesi, Mr. Mvuzo Nokiesi, and the Minister of Justice, Comrade Mamuluko, Kubai in absentia, Judge President Justice Dustin Mlambo, Chairperson of the Justice Portfolio Committee, Tola Ngola, members of the National Executive Committee of Nadel, distinguished guests, comrades and compatriots. I want to thank you for the song. It makes me feel at home because the culture, one thought, is different. I think the song, as much as it sings about me, is a song about who you are. And one would have thought that the introduction will be colleagues, no comrades. So when the chairperson started to say comrades, I realized Moses Yafan. So I then settled, in a way. I come from Limpopo, and we started our meeting today with the DA, and then from there I went to Limpopo. So I come from Limpopo now. So my apologies for arriving late. And I heard coming here that the Sundowns won in Cairo. It will be followed, of course, Sundowns will be followed by Orlando Pirates. So we are hoping for a Southern African final of the Confederations African Federation Cup. I'm pleased to address this Congress of the National Association of Democratic Lawyers, an organization that from the onset defined itself on the side of the people, on the side of freedom and justice. NADEL members defended our people, activists and freedom fighters, ordinary community members, young activists like myself, trade unions and workers against the repression of the apartheid government and against exploitative employers. NADEL also was a critical part of the United Democratic Front, the mass democratic movement, and played a role in the creation of COSATU and other progressive organizations. They were building on the foundations of earlier generations of lawyers, such as Henry Sylvester Williams, Alfred Mangena, Richard Msimanga, Pixley Kaisaka Seme, Ngubu Poswayo, and George Muntiwa, who were also members and among the founding members of the African National Congress. This and later generations, Anton Limbede, Oliver Tambo, Nelson Mandela, Fatima Mie, George Bizos, Bram Fisher, Zola Skweyiya, Freni Ginwala, Dala Omar, and so many others, not only put their legal ropes to defend our people in the apartheid courts, but also contributed to the ideas and vision of the South Africa we were fighting for. Advocate Tembeka Ngugaitobi, in his book, I quote, "The land is ours," wrote about the work of these lawyers, how they contributed to the evolution of the Bill of Rights. That is why they too became targets, no longer the defenders of victims, but also victims themselves, as was the case with Griffiths Mncenge and Victoria Mcenge. Decades later, when President Oliver Tambo started preparing the ANC for governance, it was lawyers that were part of that first ANC Constitutional Committee, the likes of the late Zola Skweyiya, Bridget Mabandla, Albie Sachs, Penuel Maduna, Freni Ginwala, and others. Of course, these lawyers and leaders played a pivotal role not only in the CODESA negotiations, but also in the drafting of the 1996 Constitution. They fought for a rights-based approach, political rights, but also social, gender, and economic rights. They ensured that our Constitution also protects the rights of vulnerable sectors such as children, women, the elderly, people with disability, and the LGBTIQI, in the context of the commitment of the ANC to the core value of equality. In a similar vein, the legal profession at all levels, but particularly our apex institutions, the Constitutional Court has played a critical role in helping us to define the South Africa we want in its interpretations of our Constitution over the last 30 years. We may not have always liked the rulings of the Constitutional Court, but we can say without fear of contradiction that the court is a critical bedrock of our democracy, contributing to the resilience and the accountability of our state and entrenching the values that define our nation. It is appropriate at this point we pay tribute to those who led the Constitutional Court, represented by Chief Justices Arthur Chaskalson, Chief Justice Pius Langa, Chief Justice Sandile Ngobo, Chief Justice Mukhweng Mukhweng, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, and of course the current pioneer Chief Justice Mandi Samaya, and all those pioneers who form part of this critical journey of helping to shape our nation. We are living at a time when our nation faces very difficult challenges. After 30 years of democracy, with many critical achievements from the resilience of our institutions to the social wage and meeting basic needs, from investing in people to our rights-based approach as a country, we also face intractable challenges. This includes the polycrisis of poverty, inequality and unemployment, compounded by underinvestments in critical infrastructure, issues of state capacity and therefore service delivery, as well as waning trust in public institutions. And we saw in the outcomes of the 2024 national and provincial elections. Of course, South Africa is not unique in this regard, although we rank high on the most unequal societies. This reflects the world dominated by neoliberalism and hyper-imperialism. Indeed, we are reminded by Oxfam that the top 1% of the world own more wealth than 95% of humanity. We see how this manifests itself in the strengthening and emboldenment of the global right, especially in the USA and Europe. In this context, South Africa, given its consistent, independent voice for Africa and the global South, and its mineral wealth and position in the global trade routes, have become a particular target of these forces. These global right forces and some of their local proxies want to present to South Africans and the world their twisted narrative premised on lies and disinformation. This narrative of the right about South Africa goes as follows, I quote, "Nothing has changed over 30 years. In fact, things were better under apartheid. The government over the last 30 years is only known for failure and corruption," close quote. While we are the first to admit there have been many challenges, setbacks and service delivery challenges, this narrative is false and must be challenged and dismissed with the contempt it deserves. A few weeks ago, in a webinar, Prof. Christy van der Westhuizen from the Nelson Mandela University Center for Non-Racialism and Democracy spoke about how the global right approaches its narrative. Firstly, she said, they peddle misinformation. So the DA, despite knowing about intense engagements with all political parties to find a solution to the budget impasse, claims victory, despite the facts to the contrary. Or AfriForum and Solidarity's narrative for the last decade or so about an imaginary white genocide, when the facts prove exact the opposite. Indeed, you have an example of the misinformation and misdirection in the legal profession when it comes to the opposition against the new BBBE code for the legal profession. The government discussion paper that preceded these codes raised the following challenges, and I'm just highlighting two. Firstly, it said that our legal profession does not represent the diversity of South African society. The number of black lawyers in private practice and in the public service sector is comparatively low, as is the number of women. Black people and women are almost entirely absent from the ranks of senior partners in large firms, of attorneys and senior counsels at the bar. Secondly, the distribution of practicing lawyers who deliver legal services to the public is skewed. Most lawyers practice in cities and they service corporations and relatively wealthy people. Rural attorneys tend to be white, male and African speaking. They generally provide legal services to the white farmers and local businesses. There are very few lawyers who service the areas in which most black people live, the townships and rural settlements. The few that exist generally have poor resources. This legal sector code was therefore negotiated under the auspices of the Legal Practice Council and was gazetted by the Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition. It sets important targets regarding transformation in the legal sector, which still has a long way to go. As the discussion paper said, the upper echelon of the profession is still dominated by white men. Most senior counsel advocates are white men. The majority of partners in the major law firms are white men. So the misinformation being spread is that these codes discriminate against the very people who are privileged by the status quo. I want to assure Nadel that as the ANC, we know how our constitution frames our approach to redress and affirmative action. These codes are a policy instrument that give effect to the constitution. Nadel has been very active in the campaign against gender-based violence and femicide. We have now passed the 3 anti-GBV laws that we committed to in our elections manifesto. The ANC and Nadel have a common commitment to end GBV. We must therefore work together so that these laws are implemented as speedily and effectively as possible. The ANC is very disappointed with how the Omar Toso case ended, and the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development is awaiting a report from the NTPP on the matter. One of the amendments in the Criminal and Related Matters Amendment Act is that witnesses who can apply to use intermediaries has been extended beyond just children and mentally disabled people, but includes people who suffer from a physical, psychological, mental and emotional condition. This should mean that survivors of rape will not be subjected to demeaning and offensive cross-examination from an accused lawyer, but be able to testify through an intermediary. The ANC is therefore encouraging the Justice Department to ensure that the system of individuals being able to apply for a protection online is up and running as soon as possible. The importance of community advice offices has been an issue that Nadel has championed since the dawn of democracy. Not much progress has been made, and in the interim, funding from the European Union to advice offices has been scaled back. Advice offices are important in giving people in poorer communities access to justice and an ability to have problems and disputes resolved. The ANC has noted that there was an unintended consequence with the Legal Practice Act in that candidate attorneys lost the right to appear in court 2 years after starting articles. The Minister of Justice has introduced the Judicial Matters Amendment Bill in Parliament to allow for candidate attorneys to still be able to appear in court for another 6 months to enable them to get admitted as attorneys once they have completed their articles. In addition, the Commission for Gender Equality has been included as an entity that employs an attorney and take a candidate attorney. The challenges and crises we face are real, But we should not allow it to be used to undermine our hard-won freedom and right to self-determination. This year, we celebrate 70 years of the Freedom Charter, the blueprint for the country we want. As we therefore reflect on the tasks ahead of our nation, we must take stock of how far we have come in realizing the vision of the Freedom Charter. NADEL must therefore be part of the battle of ideas in our society to define the South Africa we want and to tackle the complex challenges that we face. The President will soon announce the processes towards the national dialogue to map out solutions to the crisis I referred to earlier, but also to agree on the vision for our country for the next 3 decades and how we build social compacts around this. Time to behave like people who suffer from learned helplessness are over. We must stand up and fight. The struggle is not over. If the ANC is not championing the cause, if you belong to it, make it change things faster. Because some of us, we sit and feel comfortable. We have been sent to transform the system, but the system has transformed us. We have become best spokespersons of the system. And that is why AfriForum is bold. That is why Solidarity is bold. Let's have our own Black Border Bond if we can. And let's have our own AfriForum if we can. And nobody will stop us from that. The time to cry and not act and defend ourselves is over. The national dialogue must ensure that all our people participate, all communities and all sectors, so that we all play a role in ushering in the South Africa we want, where a better life for all is a lived reality. In conclusion, we have no doubt that NADEL will continue to play a critical role in bringing about a democratic society, as you did at the important junctures in our history, to contribute fresh and innovative ideas and about how this will be achieved, and to bring forward to the solutions to the intractable challenges we face. And I want to say to you today, in Luthuli House, you have a partner, you have a fighter, and you have an organization you can partner with. The role the ANC plays as a party in government, in parliament, must not be undermined by thinking that the ANC in Luthuli House is not a fighting organization. We are fighting, and we can stand and we can be in the streets, we can be everywhere, we can champion the cause, and we can make it happen. And we've got the power. We hold our deployees accountable, and if you feel they move very slow, knock at Luthuli House, not for a 10%, but knock at Luthuli House to make them move and move faster. And I can assure you we've got the capacity to make people move. And they move faster because we control the power. We deploy. We are the African National Congress, and we drive the transformation process. The time to cry like as if we are not in charge are over. And I was telling comrades where I come from, we can't say every time local government is a problem, and yet we control local government. We run local government. Why is it like that? We've got to change things. And if you compare next door to our opponents, they say where they govern better. But what makes us not to govern better? Where we govern. We've got you as the powerhouse, as a resource to help us navigate and deliver for our people. And that is what we are here about, and that is what NADEL have been about. And let's change the terrain and make things happen for our country and for our people. Thank you very much.